Chapter 19. My Inner Demons. Lady Tsunade, how are you feeling? A groan echoed against the walls as a busty blonde woman laid in bed tiredly in a small room. A few medic nin were beside her futon checking her vitals and pulling blood for further evaluation. No one knew what happened to her, because before all of this took place, she was completely fine. She even looked normal, and had a slight pep in her step, but now her condition was worrisome to the woman by her side, and even the medic nin who looked more nervous than usual as they continued their checkup. I'm okay, Shizune, Tsunade softly answered as she lay there trying to wiggle free from the blankets. My head is just killing me, and I feel weak. It's hard to move. Don't get up, Lady Tsunade, Shizune replied through tears, you almost died. Naruto POV, okay Naruto. This is B. He is the host of the Eight Tails, Yamato answered sternly with his hand, gestured to his left. The boy looked at the figure in question, and thought with a hand to his chin, this is, the Eight Tails Jinchuriki? B smiled reassuringly, that I am little man. B is my name, hosting is my game, we. Naruto blanched at the rhyming that spewed from the man's mouth. In all honesty, he really didn't care for this weird way of talking. It kind of irritated him to be honest. He just wanted to learn new things, and be done with his mission. And my name is Modoi, a spiky-haired man said as he came up, I am the supervisor of this island. He couldn't do without an introduction, could he? My name is Naruto Uzumaki. It's an honor to meet you B and Modoi, the teen said, bowing ever so slightly. Hey now, there's no need for all that, B replied shaking his hands defensively, all we need is a rap and a fist tap, you dig? Naruto looked around worrisome as B stared patiently waiting for the genin to give him a good rhyme. The boy looked over to Yamato, and the man gave him an it's all on you look. His eyes peered over to Konan who wasn't even looking at him. Her head was turned to the trees. Perhaps she was a little embarrassed at the situation. Naruto sighed in defeat and thought momentarily about a good rhyme. To be honest, singing or even rhyming weren't anything he was blessed with growing up. He had no reason to sing, and when he did, it sounded more like a screaming banshee than music. No, that won't work. Nah, that's too corny. Gah. I'll just try to spit something out and see what I can come up with. Although I'm slow, it isn't hard to flow. I can make a rhyme, pass the time and rewind the best line. Mighty fine. We. He blushed at the rushed sentences that came from his mouth. Truth be told, he felt extremely embarrassed at what he was saying. He couldn't believe how decent that rhyme actually was, although it was nothing that he would consider brilliant. The man in the dark goggles looked him over, and it put a lot of pressure on the boy with his scrutinizing stare. Moments felt like hours before the guy split his mouth into a grin. Hey, nice work boy. That spit wasn't so bad, don't be coy. Naruto smiled slightly as B brought his fist forward. Before long Naruto broke out into a wide grin, and bumped his fist into B's. Follow me little man, the older Jinchuriki replied as he turned, we will go somewhere special. Alright, Yamato spoke up, I will have to go with Naruto. I am Naruto's supervisor and a trained Mokuton user. What about Konan? Naruto brought up, will she come too? Yes, Yamato replied sternly, she has to be watched for any irregular behavior. Konan looked indifferent at the words that were said about her. She didn't really care at this point. She knew where she stood. Very well, Modoi responded, let's walk. This is it. It's where I come to sit, listen to my heart, and think of myself a bit. Naruto's eyes darted around through a clearing that opened up to a massive waterfall with a tiny circular mound of an island in the center. It was a beautiful place that seemed to hypnotize Naruto as he gazed upon the waterfall. While hypnotizing, something else about the waterfall felt off. A little ominous maybe. He couldn't pinpoint what it was, but it gave him slight goosebumps. Maybe the mist from the waterfall was getting to his skin? This is the waterfall of truth, Modoi spoke calmly as they walked closer to the water. This is a preliminary step to gaining control of the Biju. The man walked across the water and motioned Naruto with his hand, step to the mound and sit down. Close your eyes and you will see the truth held within you. The boy looked around before walking to the mound and sitting down calmly. It reminded him a little of Mount Mayaboku. He gazed his eyes silently to the waterfall before closing them in a trance-like state. Why do you try so hard to fit in? Do you know everyone is just playing with your emotions? Even Konan. Naruto looked up and saw a shadow cast within the waterfall. Who's there? Do you know Konan is only playing with your emotions, right? She's only using you until she has her chance to kill you. A figure emerged from the water as the waterfall played through the unknown person's hair. No one could ever like someone like you. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw what looked to be an exact copy of him walking towards the mound. Who are you? The Jinchuriki asked in caution. There was something strange about the boy walking up to him. I didn't make any shadow clones. I'm you. The real you, the darker Naruto replied. I'm the one you try to hide every day. Liar. Naruto got up to his feet quickly and dashed towards the darker form. He went to quickly land a punch before he hit the other person's palm. Ha! The darker Naruto grinned devilishly before he proceeded to impact his fist into the normal Naruto's jaw. The force twirled the normal Naruto's body momentarily in the air before he fell in the water with a loud splash. Naruto gasped as he pulled his head up. There's no way this guy is me? Is it? It seemed kind of strange having another Naruto that resided within his mind. He never knew that one even existed until now. But regardless of him having another Naruto in his head, it wasn't the real Naruto. It was just a lump of hatred that built up over the years. Naruto didn't know what to do as he watched the other Naruto pull something out of his pocket. You see? You can't beat me. I'm like you in every way, but I'm better. He smiled evilly as he stood there in his malice. The darker Naruto held something in his hand that fluttered lightly in the breeze from the waterfall. Konan knows who you really are. She was an Akatsuki member. She opened you up and made you vulnerable. You're weak, you know. Naruto looked up and saw an orange flower in the dark Naruto's hand. That's yes, this is the flower you made for Konan, the darker half responded, while looking down in what appeared to be melancholy. What were you trying to prove with this? She's not even your friend. You forced her to Konoha with you, and she'll always hate you for that. Naruto widened his eyes at the darker half's declaration. Konan would hate him? That's not true. I saved Konan's life. She didn't deserve to die. I could have left her in a megacure, but then she would have seeked Madara and only been killed. What do you know about anyone else? The darker Naruto yelled in annoyance. He then proceeded to crush the orange flower in his hand, leaving nothing but wrinkled paper. You've only cared about yourself. Since when have you ever cared about anyone else? You're right, Naruto said, sulking as he sat in the water staring at his legs. I was always angry at everyone for what they did to me. I always backlashed at myself for being so nice. I never thought that I would be seen for what I really am. Just as Naruto Uzumaki. The darker half grinned. So you agree that you need me? Naruto thought for a moment. Was this really what he needed? Did he really need that hatred? Of course it has helped him through some rough times, but in the end, it became a hindrance to who he is as a person. It caused him to do things he probably shouldn't have done. His rage almost caused the entire Leaf Village to be destroyed again when he fought Nagato. He almost released the Kyuubi and endangered everyone in the vicinity. Could he really afford to make these mistakes again? Naruto couldn't help but sigh as he stood up. There was something about all of this that got him to think deeply about the entire situation. He has to conquer his inner demon, his hatred that he kept for so long, even when he thought it was long gone. He's only trying to get into my head. I can't let him interfere with my thoughts any longer. I can't be mad at anyone for what they've done. At the end of the day, people are only people. How could I possibly be upset at anyone for doing the things they've done? Yes, they've hurt me, but only because they believed what they were told instead of looking underneath and finding the truth. Naruto widened his eyes in amazement. That's it. People aren't bad. It's the way they were taught that was bad. Who am I to judge someone with hatred in my heart over something so petty? What are you blabbering about now? Just admit that you need me, the darker Naruto replied with narrowed eyes. The main Naruto smiled with conviction in his eyes as he looked at his other half. I don't need you. What did you say? I said, I don't need you, Naruto responded in finality. You've been a great help to me and all, but you aren't really needed anymore. A rage erupted in the darker half. What do you mean? Are you just going to forget about me? You can't, because I'm a part of you. I will always be here. When you begin to feel your lowest, I will always be the one that you come to. You're right, Naruto replied quietly as his gaze fell to the ground. Then you know that. You're right that you're a part of me, and that's what I have come to realize, Naruto rebutted. I know now that I must accept my hatred for what it is, and let it go. I can't keep living with this undertone in my heart. He walked to his darker half as he kept talking. Konan accepts me for who I am. She has seen many things that gave her a better understanding of life. Maybe I need her more than I realized before. She's become a precious person, just like the others. She's a part of my everyday life now, and I don't regret bringing her here. I don't regret staying in the Leaf Village. I don't regret anything that I have done until now. Everyone in the village accepts me now, and I can't let them down. I have to continue showing that I'm everything that they hoped for. The village's Orange Hokage. The darker Naruto looked at the real Naruto in confusion as he kept talking. Well, I know it's still a long way until a real peace can be achieved, but I want to help people see the truth. I want to be part of the reason why people can finally understand one another. I want everyone to be able to rest at night without having an underlying fear. I mean, we're not so different after all. We're all human. Naruto grinned a fox-like grin at his evil half with his hands behind his head. If anyone heard Naruto now, they would look twice and still wouldn't believe that he actually came up with these answers on his own. Usually, he would be known as the dense boy, or just an idiot. He was oblivious to a lot of things, and didn't really think too much about anything, but ever since he obtained his Rinnegan, things have been opened up to him that he wouldn't normally talk about. Things that he never would have seen or thought of before, it's true. Ever since I have had these eyes, I've been thinking a lot more. It could have just been him thinking about Sakura's death that got him pondering more on life and peace. Maybe it was his master's death that made him think. Maybe it was Nagato's, whose death seemed to stump him with a lot of questions. Nagato was misunderstood. He lashed out and became the bad guy. But seen through certain eyes, his work could have been seen as good. A necessary evil, perhaps. Naruto sighed inwardly as he took in all of this information. It was everyone that caused me to reevaluate my conclusions. Shut up. The darker Naruto spat. In the end, you will come running to me. I'm the only one who can understand you. Sakura tried and failed. Sasuke couldn't even comprehend your friendship with him as a real one, and Konan couldn't possibly be friends with you. She will never understand the pain that we've been through. She doesn't even know us. You're wrong. She does understand. Naruto yelled in conviction. She had it equally challenging, and it's possible that she had it worse than we had. That I had. We're only human. Sometimes we have to play the cards we are dealt. She's not evil. She's not bad. His eyes fell low as he thought about what he said next. She's alone. She doesn't have anyone else in her life. Naruto looked up to his other half's eyes again. That's why I want to help her in any way that I can. People can warm up to her over time in Konoha. It's just that the war is still fresh in everyone's minds. She needs a chance to prove herself, and Granny has already given it to her. I will show her how much there truly is in Konoha. She deserves a break. We all do. How can you say that? The darker Naruto asked in confusion. She was the enemy. And what about Sakura? Don't you blame yourself because of that? You didn't arrive fast enough. Sigh, you were right that I didn't show up fast enough, but there is nothing that can be done about that now. Sakura-chan wouldn't want me to continue beating myself up over her death because she's my friend, Naruto said while smiling. In the end, I have to believe that I can achieve these goals. I have to believe in Konan. I have to believe in myself. You should too, because you're not evil. You're just me. Sniffed out the real Naruto looked on to the darker Naruto that started to weep silently. Tears fell lightly from his face as he fell to his knees. Before Naruto knew it, the darker half started to dissipate into nothing as he smiled softly at his answers. He found out a lot of things in such a short amount of time. He realized who he truly was and overcame it so easily. He never knew that he built up such a hatred in his heart. He thought it not as an entity, but rather something that comes and goes. And that's when he opened his eyes. B and the others watched as Naruto stood up in what appeared to only be 5 minutes' time. He saw Naruto's face and smiled reassured. Naruto turned to them all and gave a big thumbs up. B clapped in congratulations as he walked over to Naruto. Konan walked over to Naruto with a slight smile on her face. Naruto-kun was able to conquer his hatred so easily, and in 5 minutes no less. I didn't expect this outcome to turn out so well. He really is something else. Later. Are you sure Konan-chan can come in here? Yes, I'm sure, Yamato replied sternly. We have Guy watching over her in case she does something strange. We can't have her doing anything to you while you're trying to control the Kyuubi. Naruto only frowned in annoyance at his captain as they continued walking. He looked over to B with intrigue. So, this is the room where you learned how to control the Hachibi? Yeah, B said as they entered the entire white chamber. Every Jinchuriki in my village has to come here to control their Biju. This is only for the case where, if they couldn't control it, and it gets released, then we have somewhere to contain them to keep them from escaping. He then looked over to Naruto. By the way, what seal keeps your Biju at bay? A tetragram seal, Naruto answered casually. Hey, that's impressive. Better than mine anyway, B replied while sitting down. So, do you have the key for it? Yeah. Okay, cool. B replied with a smile. Are you sure that the Kyuubi won't escape? Yamato asked with concern laced in his voice. It was a scary thought to have the Nine Tails break free from Naruto and wreak havoc on the populace of the island. Don't worry, Captain Yamato. I will make sure that never happens. I can't let it happen. I have to do this. Naruto looked at his curled fists. I have to make sure that I succeed no matter what. This is for the people, for everyone that died, and for myself. I will not fail. His face flew up with fierce determination that caused the other males to gaze at the boy with a slight admiration. Let's get started, the eight-tailed Jinchuriki said as they both sat together and bumped fists. Inside Naruto's mind, what are you doing here? Just as mean as ever, aren't you? That's not working on me this time, Naruto said with a determined grin as he pulled off the paper that covered the circular lock on the sealed barred enclosure. The Kyuubi glared demonically through the cage at the boy as he watched him pull up his shirt. "What are you up to now?" The Jinchuriki didn't answer him as he filled his fingers with chakra and pushed into his stomach where the seal resided. He used his fingers and twisted as if he were opening a door, and the seal began to open on his stomach. He looked up and saw the cage lock twisting in a complex fashion as it slowly opened. Swap.gya. Nine tails erupted as he slashed his way out of the cage that held him in for so long. Naruto flew backward and did a small flip before landing on the ground with a strong thud. A second version of himself made of chakra formed beside him and stayed attached to his shoulder. His foot slid forward as he propelled toward the enraged fox. His memory kicked in from what B had told him earlier. He charged the fox quickly as the Hachibi appeared behind him and lassoed his tentacles around the Kyuubi, surprisingly and ultimately bringing him down. "Naruto, now's your chance." Naruto leaped forward with his chakra half beside him. Although things seemed they were going his way, the Kyuubi immediately ripped apart the tentacles that bound him in place. The Kyuubi's chakra half floated outward and made a grab for Naruto's chakra. The boy made a quick dodge, but was immediately hit by a large paw that slung him sideways, throwing him to the ground. He pushed off the floor with his hands and swiftly dodged another paw slam. "Damn, that fox is fast." "I just have two," Naruto gasped as he saw the Kyuubi power up a chakra ball from his mouth. It got bigger and bigger until it was double the size of the Kyuubi itself. Before he knew it, the ball shot straight toward Naruto. The boy's eyes widened because he knew that there was no way he would be able to escape it. He braced for impact as things became dark. He slowly opened his eyes to realize that he was within something that was taking the blast. "Octopops," he said in a breath of relief. The cocoon unraveled and deflated slowly into oblivion as the boy walked out of it. His eyes narrowed in determination as he gave the Kyuubi a thumbs up. "Not bad, Kyuubi, but this won't last too much longer. I will make sure this ends now." "Trying to control my power, are you, boy?" The Kyuubi asked in amusement. "You won't even come close to capturing it." "I am evil incarnate." Naruto smirked as he activated his Rinnegan in Sage mode. His eyes slowly morphed into the two-tier eyes. The color blended into a shade of maroon, and his pupil no longer remained circular, but instead shaped itself into a rectangle. "I'm gonna have to go all out if I want a chance at taking his chakra." The Kyuubi stared at the boy in curiosity. The fox cocked an eyebrow and knew that there was something a little unusual about Naruto's tone, and he was intrigued. The idiot seemed a little more cocky than usual. What did Naruto have up his sleeve to feel so confident about himself? He watched as the boy slung up his hands into the familiar hand sign, and about 1,000 Narutos appeared, encircling the nine-tailed fox. Each pair began forming a Rasengan. The main Naruto began forming an enormous sphere from his hand that made everyone in the room seem exponentially smaller. "Get ready, you dumb fox. Your chakra is mine." All of the clones immediately darted towards the fox and jumped into the air. Most of them were swatted away, but not all of them. The rest flew their Rasengan into the fox's fur. Tiny explosions scattered throughout the fox's body that caused him to roar in pain. His eyes widened as he saw a massive blue spiraling sphere hovering towards him. He was too busy trying to fend off the clones that he couldn't get out of the way fast enough. "Bastard." Naruto rammed the blue sphere into the fox, completely ravaging his body in the process. The fox roared incomprehensibly as the Rasengan grinded against his body. Noticing that he had a chance, Naruto slung his chakra half towards the Kyuubi's chakra half. His chakra counterpart began pulling feverishly at the fox's chakra. Slowly but surely, the chakra was being pulled out and draining the Kyuubi dry. The Kyuubi looked at this as an opportunity. He was weak, but he still had one card up his fur. He smiled devilishly as the darkness began to seep through his chakra. The darkness spread faster as the fox concentrated it further. It started to travel across into Naruto's chakra half, and as soon as it did, thoughts began emerging that Naruto thought he had left only recently. "It's all my fault. Why did he have to go? I can't go on any further. Why am I even trying? Go away. You're worthless." Naruto gripped his head in confusion. These thoughts were overpowering his own concentration and will. He felt tremendous pain and rage that permeated through his entire body. It was uncontrollable and quite difficult to even register. What is this? It hurts. He squinted in frustration and possible exhaustion. He lost concentration and his eyes reverted back to his normal eye color, although something was wrong. Very wrong. His left eye began to darken. "See?" The Kyuubi grinned. "There's no way that you can control this hatred. Your hatred was only a tiny fraction of what I am. You're weak." "I'm weak," Naruto replied, his voice laced with depression. His overwhelming emotion from the Kyuubi's enhanced chakra put him to his knees as he sat there trying to fight it. "Don't ever come back here. A faceless voice yelled angrily, "Get out of here." "No, stay," a warmer voice replied. "Stay here, Naruto." The orange-haired boy widened his eyes. The voice was soothing, almost melodic. It was a complete contrast to the dark voices that slowly began taking over his mind. In the white void, a figure slowly appeared with a white shirt and green long dressing. The figure was female. She carried herself lightly on her feet as she moved forward, but what really struck Naruto's chord was the woman's unusually dark red hair. "Hey, who are you? How do you know my name?" Naruto didn't know this person, and he wasn't just going to get all friendly with someone he just met, even if it was within his subconscious. "How about you guess who I am, Naruto?" the woman asked with a smile. Naruto furrowed his brows. He looked at her with scrutinizing eyes. There was only one thing that came to his mind. The red hair set it off for him. "Don't tell me you're the real form of the Nine-Tails Fox." The woman widened her eyes before she guffawed loudly at the boy. Naruto glared at her as she continued, "You have a scary laugh. Don't trick me by taking this female FWAP. Hey. You're wrong, you know." The woman screamed at him while bashing her fist into his noggin. Naruto groaned in pain as he registered what the woman said. "You know? Oh, silly me, I guess Minato didn't tell you much about me." "Sorry about that," Kushina responded while scratching her head, embarrassed. Naruto's eyes widened exponentially as he stared at the woman with the gorgeous long red hair. There was something about her that drew him in. The green eyes, that held nothing but warmth within them. The way she held herself as she stood there in that space. That's right, Naruto. I'm WAP." The boy rushed quickly to the woman and grabbed her tightly. The level of emotion was intense as he trembled. His arms wrapped around to her back and didn't want to let go. It was hard for him to contain himself as he cried softly right then and there. Years of withholding feelings broke through all too easily. The woman could only sigh as the boy held on to her. This was a moment that she had been waiting for. This was a moment he was waiting for. Something that he never would have believed would happen. He saw his mother. "Mom, there's so much that I want to ask you." She grinned as she looked at her son. "We can talk for a little while." But first she proceeded by releasing her chains within Naruto and shooting them to the Kyuubi in a binding hold. The chains wrapped around the demon fox forcefully as he laid there trapped. "These are Kushina." The fox roared maniacally. He didn't think he would ever see this again, and it gave him an undeniable itch. "There. That ought to buy us some time," the woman sighed in exasperation and closed her eyes. She never really liked having to deal with the Nine Tails, but it had to be done if she ever wanted to spend time with her son. "Now, how are you, Naruto-kun?" The boy grinned like an idiot as he heard his mother's sweet voice. It was an odd feeling. Seeing his mother after all of this time really eased a lot of feelings of discontent within him. He burst with excitement just being within breathing distance of her. "Oh, you know, I'm doing okay," he replied, scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. "I've been through a lot growing up, but I always stuck it out." Kushina smiled at her son with a tender feeling. "That's good to hear. I'm glad that you were strong this entire time. It probably wasn't easy being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." Naruto looked down in slight sadness. "It must have hit a soft spot. Yeah, it wasn't that easy. But like I said, I held on and kept moving forward." The son looked at his mother unsure as she observed him and looked him over. There was something that was obviously bothering her. I don't know what to say about it, so I'm just going to come right out with it. Why is your hair orange?" "I remember it being blonde when you were born," she said with a flat face. "Oh," he laughed, "I don't know. My hair was blonde, and then it became orange. Captain Yamato said that maybe my genes were fighting dominance over the other. I don't know. It's very confusing." "Ooh," Kushina said with her curiosity piqued, "maybe your hair will turn red eventually? Wouldn't that be interesting? Then you could have the same hair as your mom. At least it would match your face," she said with a grin, waving her hand in the air dismissively. "Come on, Mom, it was already hard enough to say goodbye to my blonde hair," he said with an exaggerated tear. "I don't think red hair would match me." Kushina held her hand to her mouth to stifle a giggle that burst forth from Naruto's reactions. The boy looked at his mother when she did that and blushed profusely. He never heard it before, and even then, the way she laughed, and about him in particular, was very intriguing. "Hey Mom," Naruto grinned ear to ear as he saw her look up at him. "I just wanted to know. How did you meet Dad?" Some time later. "So." Kushina started with an unusual glint in her eyes. "Who's that woman that you're with? Is she your girlfriend?" Naruto's eyes widened to the size of saucers as he threw his hands up in the air. "What? No, she's not my girlfriend. I mean, she's just a friend. She trains me, you know, and we spend a lot of time together and stuff. Plus, she wouldn't even like me anyway." "Easy, Naruto," the woman responded gently. Naruto looked up to see her talk with softened eyes. "There's nothing wrong with her being older than you." "Huh?" Naruto asked, bewildered. He really wasn't expecting his own mother to say something like that. Wouldn't she find it weird? Wait a minute. What am I saying? What do you mean? Kushina sighed as she closed her eyes. She twiddled her thumbs idly as she spoke calmly to her son. Well, I don't necessarily approve of the age gap between the two of you, but, she smiled warmly, and moved her hand to rest comfortably on the boy's shoulder. I know love is a powerful thing, so I couldn't stop you, even if I wanted to. The young boy lowered his eyes in embarrassment. His mom was talking about Conan like that. It was really unusual for him to hear such encouraging words from his mother about a woman that she didn't even know. Just make sure, the woman started again, that she likes you before you try anything. Always be a gentleman to her. Naruto looked up to his mother again. He didn't understand at all. What was going on? He figured that his mother wouldn't ever say anything like that, but how can you trust her so much? You don't even know her. The redhead chuckled at that. Easy. I've watched her through your eyes. I know who she is, and I've even seen the way she acts. She's just been through some tough times, Naruto-kun. She smiled with closed eyes as she continued. She needs someone there for her. Someone to save her as Minato was to save me. I can tell that you've done something to her. You changed her, Naruto, and I believe that she feels indebted to you. The boy looked over to her despondently. She did say a couple of times that she owes me. I didn't want her to feel that way, but what could I do about that? I know, son. Women are a lot more complicated than they may seem to you. Kushina smiled knowingly about her statement and looked into the white sky. I think there is more to her than you believe. She then looked down into her hands. It's kind of hard to imagine what Konan-sen may have been through, but she needs someone there for her now more than ever. Naruto nodded his head as he continued listening. She isn't the same woman that you saw when you first met her. Her closest friends and family members are gone now. She doesn't have anyone left for her except for you. Naruto looked in despair to the groundless void as his mother continued. You're the only thing keeping her moving. You're the reason why she is starting to look at life in a different light. You've caused a great impact on her life, and great memories may have been gained along the way. I don't think she knows how she feels yet, but I do know, she has feelings for you. Naruto's face heated up to a dark shade of red. What? Say that again? The woman giggled again at Naruto's question. She has feelings for you, Naruto. The orange-haired boy widened his eyes in amazement. Whatever eye contact he had with his mother was now broken. There's just no way. His mind began running at Mach 3 speed. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Conan has feelings for him? It's not possible. She couldn't. Inconceivable. Memories flooded his mind as he processed this new information. He wasn't really that smart when it came to actual science. His mother telling him that one of his closest people actually has feelings for him was really impacting. He thought about the incident when the Kumo ninja beat him within an inch of his life and Conan showed up threatening to kill anyone. He thought about the many hugs that he received from the paper angel. She seemed to really enjoy every single one. He felt warmth from her hugs. He also thought about the time that they first kissed in the tent. How passionate she was in kissing him. She said it was an accident, but could it really be something that they should forget? He thought about when she broke down and cried on him. How she truly gave herself into Naruto. He remembered the smiles that she would throw his way and the caring nature that she developed towards him. There were so many memories of her. She changed. She became the total opposite of what she had become during her role as an Akatsuki member. Most of all, she became beautiful, not just in body, but in spirit. She started to shine and glow with happiness. Mom, I don't really know what to say, the boy answered in a sigh. It's okay, Naruto-kun. You have plenty of time to figure all of these things out for yourself, Kushina answered with a smile. Just as quickly as she smiled, a devilish smirk appeared on her face. Hee, I never expected my son to be the older woman type. Naruto blushed brightly at his mother's blunt statement. He waved his hand in dismissal at her. Nah, I still don't believe that she likes me like that. That would just be silly. You could say that, although that kiss she gave you is pretty intimate, if I do say so myself. I mean, I used to kiss Minato like that, and he would slide his hands No. Bleh, I don't want to hear that, he replied, sticking his tongue out at the image. Kushina laughed loudly at his antics, and smiled so brightly at Naruto when he showed his true self. These moments were moments that she wished that she had with her son, and now she had the opportunity to do so, if only for this short time with him. It was a truly wonderful sensation. I'm so happy, Kushina replied wistfully. Now I can say something that I've been meaning to say for quite some time now. Naruto looked onward to his mother rather curiously. What is it? She smiled ever so softly and looked him in the eyes. I love you. Naruto's eyes stared into hers before he blushed and laughed in embarrassment. Hearing his mother say that made him feel great. Empowering in a sense. The real Naruto, that was holding the Kyuubi with chakra chains, received the clone's memories shortly after that conversation with his mother. He felt calm, relieved, soothed, happy. His brow furrowed as he pushed with all of his might to dispel the evil chakra that was taking him over. It receded rather quickly and surprised the Kyuubi at the sudden change. The fox started ripping the chains off of him in a fervent attempt to fight back before things got out of hand. Luck wasn't in his favor, though, as Naruto threw his hands up again to release another 1,000 shadow clones. All of the clones began forming more Rasengan as they charged after the slightly weakened Kyuubi. Just as quickly as the Rasengan were formed, every clone received Sage Mode and their Rasengan grew 100 times the size of the clones themselves. Every clone sent their Adama Rasengan into the body of the helpless Kyuubi, who only roared out in anguish once more. Where did all of this power come from? It forced the Kyuubi to stand his ground as he slid backwards forcefully. He looked up after he stopped moving and saw Naruto approaching him with a spiraling Rasengan that increased to 100 times its average size, and then threw it towards the Kyuubi in a last-ditch effort. It hit the Kyuubi with a massive explosion, blowing him backward as a few dozen clones pulled intensely at the fox's chakra. Before he knew it, the chakra separated entirely from the fox and started to attract the only other chakra holder in the room. It slowly seeped into Naruto's skin as he stood there absorbing what he stole from the Kyuubi. His body began to glow a bright gold. Flames licked around his shoulders and his clothes as he stood there in awe. Naruto, you've pissed me off. I can't let you get away. The Kyuubi roared as he started forming another Bijuu bomb. His body slowly started fading the longer he pushed his chakra into the attack. Wow. To think that you still have that much chakra left, Naruto said with amazement before he twisted the seal on his stomach. Large wooden structures fell from the sky and captured the Kyuubi in place. He couldn't move. He had been trapped again. Naruto, you will regret this. The gate closed once more and locked in place as the Kyuubi slowly lost consciousness. Naruto looked onward towards the fox as he lowered his eyes in sadness. Don't worry, Kyuubi. I won't keep you like this forever. Just give me some time. Kushina POV. You did it, Naruto-kun, Kushina said happily. It was a major achievement to see her son accomplish such an amazing feat. He could finally use the Kyuubi's chakra with control. She hugged him softly and looked up to him. Now I can finally join Minato. Naruto cast his eyes downward as he heard his mother say that. He was finally getting accustomed to seeing his mother, and she had to leave already. It left him feeling bitter and a little lonely. He thought quickly of the last few minute things that needed to be answered. His mother was one of the last Uzumaki that knew anything about his heritage. He needed to know what happened. Something Nagato said really caught his interest in that moment. Hey mom, who massacred the Uzumaki, and why do the Uzumaki have Rinnegan, and no one ever told me? Kushina looked at her son a little strange. Huh? What do you mean? That really piqued his interest. Well, you said that you came to Konoha to become the next Bijuu host. Yeah, that's right. Well, who massacred the Uzumaki? Kushina looked at her son rather strangely. Who told you we were massacred? And the Rinnegan? I don't gasp. Oh no, Kushina retorted rather abruptly. My energy is fading. I don't have much left. Naruto widened his eyes as he saw his mother disappearing before his very eyes. Getting desperate, he tried to hug his mother, only to brush through her energy. Mom. I love you, Naruto. You're everything I hoped you would become. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there for you, she cried lightly. It's fine. I love you too, he answered with a sob, but I still want to answer your question. He rubbed his eyes dry with his sleeve. It was a man named Nagato Uzumaki, he said in a hurry. He was the one who told me that the Uzumaki were massacred. Kushina's eyes widened unexpectedly. Huh? Naga, to, you, Zu, Ma.
End of chapter 19.